Welcome to the meet, day 106. Let's dig in. Here's what's happening. There is a feast of the Jews. This is one of the feasts where people need to go to it. Okay, if I'm correct, and let me double check real quick, if you don't mind hanging with me. One of these feasts of the Jews, this one in particular, let's see. No, I don't have the notes on it. I'm not sure which feast this was, to be honest with you. But it was one of the Jewish religious holidays. And anyway, they were there. The place was crowded. There's a lot of people. And Jesus heads up for the feast because he was obedient to God in all ways. And the Spirit leads him wherever he goes. Now it describes where this pool was. And just recently, I'm relatively certain I read an article about, within the last year, that they think they discovered this pool, which would be so cool. I'd just fill it up with water, see what happens. In Aramaic, it's called Bethsaida. So it's by the sheep gate. There's a pool. It's in Jerusalem. And it has 5 roofed colonies. So 5 areas where people can get out of the sun and lay. And this is where a bunch of people that were sick were. I kind of think of it like a hospital. Except a really poor version of an outdoor hospital where I'm guessing people would lay when their families couldn't take care of them, when they didn't have any family. Who knows what circumstance got people where they were? Who knows what circumstance gets people where they are today? Right? We all end up in all kinds of different circumstances. Sometimes they're our fault. Sometimes they're not our fault. But we all end up in places that we'd rather not be at one point or another. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years. For this person, it was 38 years. Yours might be longer. Where you're kind of trapped in this place. You're stuck in this place because you feel like it's where you need to be and it's the only chance you have of being healed. You surround yourself with people that are like you. Isn't that what we do? In these roofed colonnades, these 5 roof colonnades, there was a multitude of people who were blind, lame, and paralyzed. They point out one man in particular who'd been there, or I guess who had been an invalid for 38 years. It doesn't say how long he'd been at this pool. Now, what's the reason people gathered around this pool? They all had something in common. They were blind, paralyzed, or lame, and they needed healing. There was a bunch of people who could not see, a bunch of people who felt like they could not move, and a bunch of people who were lame, who had something preventing them from living fully. Remember, we're on the spiritual side of things. A bunch of people meeting together, looking for hope, maybe in doctors, maybe in traditions, maybe sorcery, maybe religion. I don't know. But they're gathered together because they know that it happens, that an angel comes down from the Lord in certain seasons and stirs up the water, and whoever gets into that water first is healed. Jesus enters this area. What a perfect place for Jesus to enter. He can just walk through all those people and heal them all. One by one. Boom, 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 boom. All the way around. All 5 colonnades. The place is empty. But Jesus walks over to one man. And he sees him lying there. And he already knew that he'd been there for a long time. And he says what seems like extremely foolish words. He looks at the man and he says, "Do you want to be healed?" Jesus is looking at you. He sees your insides. He sees what is broken, and he asks you the question, do you want to be healed? Because that's the first part of healing, is not living in your sickness, is not living in your blindness, is not living in your paralyzed state. It's not being afraid to say, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to refocus my mind. I'm going to allow God to let me see. No matter what. No matter what. Nothing is going to stop me. Because I want to be healed. People are paralyzed in fear. They're paralyzed in worry. They're paralyzed in depression. They're paralyzed in the things in their mind. People are blind to the truth because of religion or because of tradition or because they don't want to believe or because they've been told differently. People are lame and they focus on all the things that are going wrong in their lives instead of seeing the millions of blessings they're receiving in the moment. Do you want to be healed? Do you even want to be healed? And listens to the man's reply. He says, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up." All of his hope lies in that pool. All of his hope. There is no healing outside of that pool. He says, "And while I am going, another steps down before me." It's the person saying, I've just got to try harder. I've just got to work harder. I've just got to do more works. I've got to make myself see. I have to do. I have to make myself well. My hope is that I get to that water at the perfect timing so I can be healed. Jesus' reply to this statement. Get up. Take up your bed and walk. Deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. He says to this man, get up. I don't care if 38 years of not getting up has been your life. If you want to be healed, do exactly what I say. Get up. Deny yourself. Deny the thoughts. Deny the illness. Deny the pain. Deny the tradition. Deny everything about yourself that prevents you from getting up, and get up. Because Jesus is asking if you want to be healed, and he heals everything. Just like with the last man, he says, take up your bed. He says, grab hold of whatever it was that you were clinging to and carry it. Carry it. And then I want you to walk. I want you to get up and I want you to go. It says, at once the man was healed. And he took up his bed and he walked. He did exactly what he was told to do. Do you want to be healed? Do exactly what Jesus says to do. Who cares about anyone else or their thoughts or opinions or words? You only hear the voice of Jesus. It says, now that day was the Sabbath. Heavy laws and rules were put on the Sabbath. God's intention was for man to rest because he knew he wouldn't. For us to rest in the blessings of God, not of ourselves. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed. Did they know this man? I don't know. But if he'd been an invalid for 38 years and he'd been lying down there, they had to have come across this guy at some point. And they say to the healed man, it's the Sabbath and not lawful for you to take up your bed. What are we missing here? Listen to the man's response. The man who healed me, that man said to me, take up your bed and walk. He said, I'm taking up my bed and walking because the man who healed me, the man who told me to get up and I could walk, told me to do this. I'm going to do exactly what he asked me to do because he healed me of the ailment that was preventing me from life. I don't care what your traditions are. I don't care what you've taught me. None of those things matter to me over what this man said to me. So they asked him, who is the man who said to you, take up your bed and walk? Who's the man that's above the law? He says, now the man who had been healed did not know who it was. He didn't even know it was Jesus. That's probably why Jesus wasn't mobbed when he walked in, because they didn't know who he was. And it says, for Jesus had withdrawn as there was a crowd in the place. Imagine the chaos. Why didn't Jesus heal all those people? It said afterward, Jesus found him in the temple. This man, this invalid, was in the temple. Can you imagine? Just imagine the joy, the shock, the amazement that this man's friends or family or that this man was experiencing himself. I have walked into the temple of God, not knowing that it was God himself who had just healed him. Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well! Exclamation point. The man does exactly what he's told to do. He continues to do what he's supposed to do. He goes to the temple because it's what he knows he needs to do and where his spirit desires to be. And Jesus says to him, do you see that you're well? Do you see that I've made you well? His next words are this: sin no more. Let nothing separate you from God, that nothing worse may happen to you. He says, I've made you well. I've given you life. Don't ever leave what I've given you. Don't ever walk away from what I've given you. Because if you do, there's a chance that something far worse could be waiting for you. Let me remind you guys, new Christians, old Christians, doesn't matter. Non-believers, doesn't matter. If you believe in the name of Jesus and he heals you and you return to a life of sin or unbelief or lack of faith, beware of what is coming. Beware of what could be there. 38 years as an invalid, and Jesus says to him, sin no more, that something worse, that nothing worse may happen to you. Are we hearing the words of Jesus? The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had healed him. It was Jesus. Do you want to be healed? There is one healer for all ailments of life, but for spiritual well-being, there is one healer. One healer. His name is Jesus. If you don't know him, like this man, get to know him. He loves you even if you don't know him. If you do know him and something is keeping you from God, ask him to take it away. Get up, pick up the burden, and follow Jesus. That burden cannot weigh you down anymore, does not define you, cannot blind you or paralyze you. It is nothing. It is powerless over Jesus. And he's asking you if you want to be healed. See, we can want this for other people day after day after day. But it's when they are face to face with Jesus and he asks this question that they have to answer. If he asks you the question and you say yes, are you willing to do exactly what he asks? Because if not, if you do and you don't continue on in true abundant life, something worse may happen to you than what has tortured you or blinded you or paralyzed you for the last several decades of your life. Believe Jesus is the way. If this is convicting you in your heart and you know exactly what it is, stop what you're doing, go be alone with God, pray, and answer the question, do you want to be healed? And then do exactly what he says to do. Love you guys.